What's up guys, Sean here. I'm a full-time clothing eBay reseller. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 best ways to acquire inventory. Hopefully you can try this in your local town and maybe it'll work for you because it's worked for me and other people that I know. So the number one thing I want to talk about before we get into those is, where do items come from that you resell? There's a few places. They come from people. People buy new goods and then they either sell them themselves, they send them off to donation sites like thrift store, Salvation Army, Goodwills, things like that. They also have their own garage sales. There's estate sale companies. There's wholesalers that buy from a manufacturer and try to sell new goods. Now, there are so many ways that inventory is acquired, but there are certain ways that can make it a lot easier and cheaper for you to acquire. The first thing I want to talk about is garage sales. What is a good thing at a garage sale? It's when you go there and somebody's really trying to get rid of something, it's super cheap, and you find it and you can sell it for a lot more on eBay.
What if you could get to those people before they have the garage sale?
That seems pretty tricky to do, but how would you go about doing that? One way is you can post an ad demanding the things that you want. You could say, hey, I buy clothes. Do you have clothes? I will pay cash for clothes. The trick with this is you need to kind of set yourself as an authority, maybe have some clothes in the background or possibly your warehouse, something that shows that you're serious and not like some scummy person. And then whenever this deal does come up, it's kind of good just to get straight to the point, maybe buy all of it and just say, hey, here you go, and then see what you can do. I would advise getting some photos ahead of time, but you can use this method with Facebook especially. You can put it on Craigslist, any social media platform. You can put an ad saying that you will buy clothes. So that would be the first thing, is try to get the items before the garage sale. Number 2 is estate sales. Similar to garage sales, estate sales are companies that they work with a family who either somebody has just passed or maybe they are moving and they just need to sell all their stuff. The estate sale company's job is to get the most money for the goods for the person, but it's also to get stuff out of that house so that the person doesn't have to deal with it. Now, estate sales sometimes have deals with people whenever things don't sell, but then they also notify their main buyers for the sales ahead of time. It's really good to get in good with these estate sale companies because you never know what they're going to come across. They may not know the value and they may just want a fair price for the item. So that means you can get a lot of items at one place. So number 2 is estate sales. The third one we're going to talk about is thrift stores. Many of you guys out there are going to thrift stores. I go to thrift stores. I shop off the rack. That's where I find the majority of my inventory. How can you get items from a thrift store for cheaper? There's a couple things you could do. One, you can work or volunteer at the thrift store.
I volunteer as tribute.
I don't think they'll let you get an employee discount. I'm not 100% sure, but what you do get is you get access into the inner workings of that thrift store. You're gonna know when the new trucks come in, you're gonna be able to identify some of those items, and you will have a chance to get there before other people if you understand when the new stuff's coming out. Maybe you schedule your shift around there. Maybe you volunteer so you're not actually on a payroll for a thrift store. Getting in with thrift stores, and I'm not saying doing anything shady like hiding items or setting items aside, but you can still get a good understanding, and maybe there is a type of employee discount. I haven't gone this route, but I have heard that people that work at thrift stores usually end up getting some of the stuff that they really like. All right, so the fourth thing that I think you can do to get items to sell is to get connections with people at storage units. Now, storage unit management, their job pretty much is to move the storage units. They have auctions. They do a ton of things to kind of get that stuff moving. Maybe you don't have the money to buy a whole storage locker, or maybe you can take a shot on a small one. But what you could do is you could talk to everybody who is a buyer at that storage unit and you can negotiate. You say, hey, I'll pay you this much for all your clothes. It doesn't even matter what it is. Like, I just want to get it. And then those people don't have to deal with cleaning it out. Now, another thing you could do is you could clean the unit out yourself. You could say, hey, in exchange for these goods, I will clean out the storage unit for you. I'll sweep it. I'll throw the other stuff away. You know, you might need to have a truck, a trailer, maybe have some muscles to move the stuff around. I don't really know, but that is a way to get in front of a bunch of items that you may not have been able to get to, because storage locker items, you know, maybe that buyer is looking for a really specific piece in that unit, so he's willing to spend up for it. But then some of the other stuff he doesn't care about, or she, like they don't want to sell a bunch of clothes or glassware, whatever it is, whatever your niche is, talk to all of them, because it's very likely that you'll be able to find something that they're not interested in selling and maybe be able to get it yourself. Along with storage units, you can lump in flea markets, and you can also lump in pawn shops. You go to those people, you say, hey, I buy this. And they're like, well, I'm not a seller of this, but guess what? I know somebody who is. Just try to network, talk, figure out where the stuff is going, who's the main players, and maybe you can tap into one of those supply lines, and that's going to be able to save you time. You're going to have to front load some work before you start reaping the rewards, but when you do make that connection, it's going to be extremely strong. So the fifth and probably the most impressive way to get inventory is to trade your skills. Now, what do I mean by trade a skill? Sometimes money isn't the only thing you can trade. Maybe you can trade a skill to that business in order to get what you want out of it. So it's more of a time trade rather than an actual monetary trade. For example, I make YouTube videos. If I were to say, hey, I will make an ad for your business, like a video, then maybe they will give me access to the goods or at a discounted price. That's something you can do. Maybe you bake delicious cookies and you want to bake a dozen cookies and say, hey, for these cookies, I'd like to be able to get first pick at your storage locker when you buy it. Those are different things you can do. I even knew a guy who used to bribe a Goodwill with pizza and donuts just so that he could get a little bit of a discount. Now, I'm not suggesting doing anything like bribing them, but I am saying if you are very skilled at something and you think you can provide value to that company, it's a very good idea to kind of offer that skill and see if you can work out an arrangement. Because in this game, building relationships, networks with other businesses that are successful and that are getting their hands on these goods may be the key that you need in order to get ahead like those people are. I hope you guys enjoyed the tips. I hope it wasn't too like, oh, that was a letdown. I hope you're able to grab something. It's not new information. It's just something that I want to package to you so that you can kind of consume it and think about it and maybe go out and make one of those plays or do all of them and see what works best for you. Let me know in the comments below if you've done any of these tactics and let me know if it's worked out for you. I'll see you next time. Bye.